Dear white rappers, I've been enjoying your songs, but still I'll occasionally hear something that's incredibly wrong. And now I see a lot of MAGA rappers jumping on the scene, who don't hold back their views, and that's a real good thing to see. But they speak in the ain't white narrative, so I still appear to be the only rapper out there who is a rapper going free. A few of you did interviews with my man James Hake. You should ask who Jason Kuna is, you'll really appreciate the videos he has and books he's written. I'll buy so you can get it. You're infected with main pathogens, need to sync up your biospirit. And go free is the answer to the cancer, it's the clearest. And y'all are great candidates by the way you prove you're fearless. You should be investing in land, I'll put it to you simply. You don't need all those gold chains on like you are Mr. T. What you need is a go free friend like our brother Mr. V. I write this to you with love, and with this chorus I sing. Dear white rappers, you really need to go free. Dear white rappers, I have the thing that you need. Dear white rappers, you can take this here as your call. Dear white rappers, I'll even put your name in the song. Dear Tom, dear Tyson, dear Adam Calhoun, you should buy the book of free, cause my movement has room. Dear white rappers, free. Dear white rappers, free. Dear white rappers, free. Dear white rappers. J360 said they hate a white-ass Christian, that's so true. But they also hate a name believing white-ass also true. Or white atheist that's saying that here's the singing signs of proof. So let's find the common denominator and unify the group. And for Giotto, you talk about how you see Nazis with black faces, then proceed to call these people some terrible racists. I get what you are saying, but it's still time that you face that. The term shouldn't be used cause it's just an attack on whites. Remember, no other race can be it, that's deceiving, am I right? So you should stop saying it's racist and instead say anti-white. Cause language will change the world, I do believe it. Cause we put them in the defense position every time that we speak it. Shout out to Master Foster, I met another rapper going free. Halfway through writing this song and getting to the recording. I'm American, he's Australian, but we go through the exact same thing. Yes, we should love our country, but I'm patriotic for my team. Dear white rappers, you really need to go free. Dear white rappers, I have the thing that you need. Dear white rappers, you can take this here as your call. Dear white rappers, I'll even put your name in the song. Dear Tom, dear Tyson, dear Adam Calhoun, you should buy the book of free, cause our movement has room. Dear white rappers, free. Dear white rappers, free. Dear white rappers, free. Dear white rappers.
people go free. I guess I'm too blind to see. I'm just trying to help our people go free. I'm just blind to see. I'm too blind. I'm just trying to see people go free. I'm just trying to see. I'm just trying to help our people go free.
And we are rolling in, going free. I feel kind of gypped tonight, gypped in many ways. I haven't had a great day today. I have not had a great day today. It's been problematic for one reason. Went to the gym today. I had a good workout today. It's great to see you all. You know what I need to do. I don't have entropy rolling. This shirt, I feel kind of gypped because this shirt is actually blue, and it's a fabulous shirt. I wish you all could see. It's a dark blue, but it's not this dark. It looks quite a bit darker, at least on this monitor. Maybe it's not so much on the others. I don't know. But a big hello to everybody this Friday evening. I don't know. It's kind of on this one over here. You can see that it's blue. How does it look on your monitor, on your phone, on your television? If you're one of those lucky few, you get no white guilt on your television. And it is a glorious thing to behold, I must say. It is like Moses himself walking down, except not with tablets, but M60s and belts of ammo, and I'm shirtless. That's what you get instead. And that's what you really want. That's why you're here. Because you're one of the chosen that want to make the real chosen who want to make a difference in the world. All this insanity. It's so lame, and the population is lame, and they just want to follow lame people. It's lame everywhere. How's the audio? Is the audio even working right? Let me check to make sure the audio is even right. Who knows? It looks like it's right. If the golden, dulcet tones of my voice are coming through to you right now, if you're feeling your spirit stir, then the microphone is picking me up precisely. Big hello to everybody over there on Odyssey, D-Live. If you want to financially gift over the course of this roll-in going free, you can do so at all of the normal platforms: Entropy, Odyssey, D-Live, Cash App. You can also gift cryptocurrency, nowhiteguilt.org, and you click on the financial gift tab. You'll see the wallets I use. You can click there, financially gift me with a cryptocurrency. You'll also find the snail mail address, and you can mail me. Audio is good. There is Lacey. How are you doing, young lady? And there's Heidi is with us. Great to see you. I'll have to look at your messages back to me about what's going on. Are you sick? I don't like to hear that. 0022 is here. And Santiago is there. Hello to you. The great Franklin. Of course he's here, because Franklin is superhuman and he is awesome. A Persona is here. Roger is here. There's White Student Transmission. Great to see you, good brother. Heidi says the shirt looks great. Nice biceps. Thank you. Can you smell the gunpowder? I cover them up when I wear the dress shirt. When I wear the dress shirts, all of this statuesque beauty is shrouded, and it's a shame. It really is. And so, yes, today we have the short sleeve collared shirt on, and the gunpowder is thick in the air today. It's amazing. I cannot tell you how many times that I have removed my long sleeve shirt slowly, one button at a time, of course, because I don't know how to do it any other way, and removed it. And then if there had been observers, they say, "Oh my God, I had no idea." I'll leave it up to your imagination. Archangel says, your hair looks good today. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Victorian Time Traveler is here. And Piers, the great Piers Taylor. Hello, brother. And we have Austin. Great to see you, good sir. We are going to be talking about, Mike is here, JK160. Hello to everyone. We're going to be talking about Charlie Cheon. And this community reached out in great love to Charlie. I saw I put comments up, 2 comments. Oh, by the way, do you see this? Do you like this? Can you see this? This is my Eindlen on a silver chain. It has to be a 1 millimeter in girth to fit through the pre-drilled hole, or maybe the holes are made probably with the 3D printer when they're made. So they come with a string on them, and I purchased this chain. And then keep in mind, if you decide to do such a thing, that the end that has to go through that 1 millimeter hole can't be much bigger than the chain, because that's all the size of the hole that there is. So it looks fabulous, though, and it yields you great magical powers. You can You can fly in an airplane. You can do lots of things. Lots of things. No, that's the hole. 1 millimeter. That's what you get. Or maybe it's just barely big enough to receive 1 millimeter chain. So, but I mean, what do I want? I want to be like some rapper or something. No, I don't want to be like some kind of rap. This is perfect, right? I can have like decks of big, thick chains on my neck. I don't have some sort of inadequacy elsewhere. Montana Kid is here. Great to see you. So Charlie Cheon, World Conqueror, is here. Nuance Now, Ultra Nationalist. All right. So, the great Mrs. Jess Horse. Hello, dear lady. And Stoic Oak. That's a cool name. Stoic Oak. I like that. So Charlie Cheon, and I wrote him twice in his, well, I think it was on his Twitter and on his YouTube, inviting him on. And of course, he received a great many messages. So perhaps he didn't see my messages and the ones of you that asked if he would like to come on, or perhaps he didn't want to. My guess is that he didn't want to for various reasons. And was my anticipation before we reached out to Charlie. But he, and I guess I'll just say, and maybe the video here gives us a hint of the direction he was actually going with his thought, and it's what I anticipated, a roadmap to the middle. That's what we're going to be watching and reviewing. 13 minutes is all there is to it, but we'll have a little review. We'll have some fun, maybe have some laughs, make some babies. Who knows? But we'll have a little review, and then we'll see. We'll get right down into the meat of it. But ultimately, he is, of course, concerned, as I anticipated, about being viewed. And when I say concerned, afraid, fearful of being viewed as someone who left anti-whiteism. Now, of course, since he's inside the anti-white narrative, what does he call it? He calls it left-right. He calls it wokeism. He calls it liberalism. He calls it progressivism. He gives it the name of their taking, which legitimizes their ideology, their anti-white ideology. But when you leave anti-whiteism, especially in such a public way, they will come after you. It's a cult. It's like the antags, the antagonists in the anti-white narrative. When you leave their cult, they come after you. They slander you, they misrepresent you, they physically attack you, they destroy your property, they death threat you, they dox you. The same thing happens from the anti-whites. It's a strange similarity, I must say. So the radical anti-whites, when you leave, now if he were to just leave and not have made this video, then it would have been his friends, those close to him, his friends, his anti-white friends, who would have said he was a child molester, a rapist, a wants to murder. They would have said a bunch of things that they thought would ruin his reputation. And they would warn people off from being friends with him and from talking to him. You look right over here, you look at the situation we had with antags of the antique nationalist type. Exact same behavior. You don't want to use our, and by the way, we had Warren Baylog has this leader of NJP and the antique nationalists, I guess I should say, the entire fixator community have said, he said it, he put it down, and they've all agreed with this now. Nobody's pushing back. Big thank you to Lovely Porridge for getting this for us, that for them, it is more important to be anti-Jew than it is to be white sympathetic. He said it's more important to be anti-Semitic than to be pro-white. And so that's the dividing line that we said existed, that we discovered. And sure as shit, here we have just a couple of months after we said that, and everybody said, no, that one of the big leaders from over there says it. And then they all are like, yeah, that's it. So you have the same caliber of people. Charlie wants to get away from those people, the radical anti-whites. And perhaps he believes, maybe this is honest, maybe not, that if he doesn't go too far away, then the attacks and etc. will be less. In other words, if he were to appear with somebody who doesn't have any white guilt, well, then the attacks would ramp up. This is speculation that is not unreasonable, right? So coming onto our show would be a wonderful thing to do, because it's a perfect fit for him, given that he's pulling away from this victimization of white people. Here we are, a community that invites people of all immutable characteristics to contend with anti-whiteism. He calls it by different names, subsets of the overall set, of the superset. But would have been a perfect fit. But he has fear motivating him and other concerns, and perhaps, just perhaps, he didn't hear from any of us. I did see a lot of comments from many of you on his threads, on Twitter, tagging him, and on YouTube. His YouTube, of course, has blown up. He has nearly 100,000 subs as a consequence of the one video, What Are We Doing to White People? And I really think he would have been doing the right thing, the objective right thing, by having a conversation with us. But I guess it is my fate. It is my fate to have challenge after challenge after challenge. And when I am supposed to get my due, it just will always be pulled away. That's my fate, I guess, until somebody can change it for me. But that is where we are on a roadmap to the middle, just over 13 minutes. Let me make sure everything is working. We have a financial gift from the great Heidi, and we'll see what she has to say. And the great Heidi here says, with a $3 financial gift, God bless you, sweet lady. Total win, she says. However, my letter never made it to the school, but I was able to say it all in the meeting, and the book was pulled. Whoa, ladies and gentlemen. 07s, raucous emojis. I received nothing but agreement. The teacher thanked me. Okay, Heidi, can I tell folks the little bit that I know? Can I reveal? This is an epic win that could not have happened. And I'm just going to go ahead because, in everything in the world, you have to make a decision, this product or service, and you juxtaposition those things to decide which one do I go with. So Heidi, you're in the live chat right now. She says yes. Heidi reached out to me because she was reading to her wonderful little boy a book from school, a book that was required reading for this little boy in school. And as she worked through this book, she discovered that the non-white little boys built a tree house. It was a wonderful little place for them to have and to play, and they were perfectly innocent. And then the white little boys came along to destroy their fun, to destroy their tree house. And then the white little girl was aided and comforted after she was injured by the non-white little boy's dog, who, of course, for a child, is going to be an association with the non-white little boys. The non-white little boy's dog came over and comforted her. And so she would then feel that same sort of warmth and comfort from the non-white little boys who were just so wonderful, and would have a dichotomy about what are non-white little boys like, what are white little boys like. Well, Heidi is reading to her white little boy. And as she reads this, she's disgusted. And her great husband, Raymond, goes berserk upon hearing this book. This is anti-whiteism. in education. This is anti-whiteism. This is the infliction of grievous injury on white children, on a white little boy. It's teaching him that this is what white people are and that this is what non-white people are. If you're going to be good in the world, you have to battle the white people. You have to be on the side of the non-white people. That's how you're good in the world. You also have to hate yourself because you're a white little boy and you come from an evil people. And this is how they normally act. If you're a white little girl hearing this story, well, of course, you're learning that white little boys are no good. White little boys become white males. Some of them might become men, but not many these days. But non-white little boys that become non-white males or men, well, they're good. They're warm. They're wholesome. They have loving, cuddly animals that are warm and give you kisses. It represent what the non-white little boys are to the white girl. What decisions might she make? Wage war on her own people, abandon her people by taking a non-white male as mate? What kind of decisions might she make? So Heidi, this great member of our community, implementing the Go Free method in her life, decided she was going to sit down and write a letter to the teacher and say, this book is anti-white. It's poisonous for my white child. I'm not going to read this to him. You need to issue a different book to him that for required reading, something that is not demonizing the white race. She said anti-white, and that is from that perspective, she reached out to me with this letter. She said, what do you think? I said, you are in the position of the moral actor in this encounter. You stay in that position like you have in this letter, and no matter how it shakes out, then this teacher is going to have to assume the position, if she wants to, as the opposition, in the immoral role, rather than saying, well, it's just, it's not, for example, I've had parents reach out to me before, or should I say it's not biblical? Or should I say it's teaching about a race and we're trying to teach our children not to see race? And in every single other argument, anti-whites empowered with anti-whiteism are able to defeat every one of those objections. What they can't defeat is when you, as a parent in this case, say, this text is anti-white. I've concluded it's anti-white. They then, per force, have to argue that it's not anti-white, and how are they going to actually prove that it's not anti-white? It's your conclusion and I'm genius. You're welcome. It's not anti-white, or they have to say it's anti-white and it should be that way. Let them argue from that position. You win every time. Even if it's a very ugly scenario where the school's going to say, too bad, too sad, you're going to do this. You still are the objective winner, because there are going to be anti-whites like Charlie, for example, who was sitting there quiet thinking that's a little bit too far to go. I think that's a little bit much. I think that's a little bit, right? You're going to have other people who are on the fence who are going to say, wow, that's really immoral of the school. That's really, but much of the time you're going to have a victory. So she mails this letter off, but the letter, for whatever reason, doesn't reach the school either in time or at all. She goes in for the meeting. She talks the same points from the Go Free method to this teacher and maybe some admin from the school at this meeting. And they decided to pull the book. The teacher then thanked Heidi. Raucous emojis, please. 07s, actually 007s. Raucous emojis, 007s. I was thinking about this morning, actually, Heidi. When it comes to this community, it's not that I have, it's so much of what and who people are through their lives is based in my opinion, in genetic makeup. So ultimately then, the people who come here are already equipped, they're already thinking these thoughts, and they're ready to receive and able to receive able to take on board, so they just have the tools to work with. It's like a sports car. You can't put 15-inch tires, wide tires on like a Honda without changing the wheels, without cutting out the trunk for wheel wells and all this other kind of stuff. But you can throw those puppies right on the Ferrari. So the people who show up here are already exceptional. That's how they're showing up. And then they're able to take on board the tools. It already works for them. If it hadn't have been provided for them, they would have ended up, to some measure, depending on how much time they have in their lives to work on these things and think about these things, would have been coming to similar conclusions. So Heidi was already in a position to be able to come to these conclusions. And that's why Go Free and the Go Free method makes such perfect sense. That's why she's able to use the tools and get right in there and make things happen, be persuasive. Talk about an epic victory that is. They pulled the book. We just had iHeartMedia change the picture for what happened on that school bus from a white little boy beating up another white child to a bus with a stop sign out. That is immense. That is an unbelievable power wielded by the work that we are doing here. Then you have this mother go into school. Right after that happened with iHeartMedia, go into school. So from the mega regime media scale all the way down to the mom going in to talk with the admin and teachers, victories, the book getting pulled, the teacher grateful. Can you imagine any other approach for white well-being? Well, of course you can. And you know why? When you look at the explicit white sympathetic sphere that is dominated by Warren Baylog and that ilk, they said that their main objective is to harm Jews, not protect white people. So if you take their arguments to iHeartMedia, iHeartMedia is going to laugh at you because they know the millions of white Americans and Canadians and Brits, etc., are never going to join you in that position. If you were to take arguments that are designed to harm innocent Jewish people as well as Jewish people who might be anti-white, if you were to take that, could you imagine if Heidi had gone in to speak with this teacher and the admins and say, well, you know what? I looked up who published all these books, and guess what? They're all, they would say, you are a raving psychotic nut, and we're going to call the county on you for this child that you're abusing in your home. And we're going to find another book to ram it down your throat even harder. So this is where you come for white well-being. This is where you come for everyone's well-being, because anti-whiteism destroys the world for everyone. Everyone needs to come together of all immutable characteristics to combat anti-whiteism, because it is the argument of retributive justice against the white race that triumphs in every debate in which a Western norm or code or law or piece of history or whatever it is that triumphs every time to destroy the West. And there are things like Fourth Amendment and Second Amendment and so many others, civility, expectations of behavior that people, good people of all races, all characteristics, want to continue in the West. And if you want those things to continue, you're going to have to align with us, which means that people like Charlie Cheon is going to have to align with us. He's not going to be able to get to the place where he would like to be. You can clearly see, and we'll open this now. He's not going to be able to get to that place by the old conservative memes, talking points, vehicles, appeals for folks to just be reasonable and understand each other and try to make friends. I mean, he actually says that in the video. Try to make friends with the other side. It's not going to work. but he's honest in the place he's coming from. So God bless him. Looks like Heidi comes back with another $3. God bless you. She has more to share. $3 more. She says, on top of that, they are now letting us choose the reading material for our son. He is the top reader in his class. Of course he is. They want to know what the material is, but what a super win. Amazing. Heidi went in there, and a grieved, insulted mother, you're trying to teach my boy to hate himself because he's white, and the villains specifically are white in this book. And the good guys, specifically non-white, they say, thank you for telling us. We're pulling that book. We're not going to have any anti-whiteism at this school. Please don't be upset. We will assuage you by allowing you to choose the books that your son will read for grade. Amazing. That's truly amazing. Folks, you really need to share this because there are so many low IQ'd imbeciles out there who will show up and make ridiculous low IQ'd arguments. The good have to stand up because if the good say nothing, evil will triumph. You cannot rely on the dumb and the violent, on our who are in some way supposedly sympathetic to us or our cause. You cannot allow them to dominate the conversation, and you absolutely cannot allow them to push the good around to do what the dumb and the violent want them to do. The conversation is settled. This white sympathetic sphere is dead. It is meant for, as Warren Baylog said, to harm Jews. So let that be what they're going to be. It's more important to harm Jews. Well, then let them be known for that. Let them be known for that for all time. That's what their motive is. We clearly demonstrated that in the big divorce, and then they come out and admit it. So look at this. Do you want more successes like this or not? I've been seeing these kinds of things for decades now, and people using the Go Free method in their lives. Mothers and fathers and interactions with public school and private school and religious school and people's arguments in their homes. And no one goes anywhere with anything else. That's just a fact. And so for people who want to be jealous over that, then get over it. All right, quick check here. Nobody there, nobody financially gift there or there. Hello to anybody that shows up. If anybody wants to show up. I mean, I know I'm not the most entertaining. Heidi says the teacher used the term reverse racism, and I was able to correct her. God bless you, Heidi. Heidi is like standing above us all, like glowing and hovering, just like in power. Significant BPE, big Promethean energy. So she was able to correct her. And when I told her that we use the term anti-white, she agreed. Heidi, God bless you for this testimonial. God bless you for this testimonial. The teacher used reverse racism, which comes from Conservative Inc., the big con, reverse racism. And Heidi said, was able to correct her and told her that we use the term anti-white, and she agreed. It's actually anti-white. That's right. So epic. That is totally, totally epic. God bless you. That's amazing. We got to get on to this review, but that is amazing. Can you imagine any other attempt? Stephanie Love is here. Great to see you. Hyperborean Jim. Thank you all for celebrating Heidi. Isn't that amazing? I demand that Raymond immediately, as soon as possible, take this young lady out for a big meal at a restaurant, wine and diner, and tell the maitre d' or the waiter, whatever it is, that it's a very special occasion. When they ask what it is, you say, just say you love this woman that you're with, and she's an amazing lady. Joe is here. Papa Viking. Nancy Drew, great to see you. Brent is here. White Wolf is here. All right. What a great way to start this gathering. Totally cool. Heidi says she agrees with my command to Raymond. Yes. All right. Let's go ahead and yeah, I mean this is that Pedraglio says reverse racism implies that racism is inherently white. That was actually a point that I raised to adults and the children that used it when I was in junior high school. I was like, do never say that again. I mean, I was all the way back then. I was like, never say that. And I remember, what did I say? What did I say back then? I said something along the line of that's like saying that those who have, and I don't know, maybe I used cancer. Those who don't have cancer have reverse cancer. It's like there's this, or it's reverse cancer. It's like this implication that there's this thing that's automatically wrong. And it took time, though. I realized really how wicked that concept, that anti-white concept racism is, and how we should never, ever use it. Can only be wielded. It's the ring of Sauron. It can only be wielded by the evil. Can never be wielded by the good. Fit and healthy at any age. Great to see you, good brother. I don't understand people being jealous of our success. Just be happy something works. What the hell is the problem? I know, brother. Isn't it just insane? But here's the thing. So many of the folks, the content creators are jealous because they want to be lauded. They want the sex from it. They want the money from it. That, being a content creator, being successful, or whatever it is. They're doom documenting. They're doom dissecting. They're doom drolling. They're doom divining. And here we come along with a remedy. And they're like, whoa, no, I'm going to lose my audience. So they're just flat out jealous. They're just flat out egos in the way. They're just flat out financial concerns are coming. But so many of the folks in the explicit white sympathetic sphere, they knew what we didn't know, what we had to figure out is so more of them, I guess, a higher percentage than I thought, that actually don't hold white well-being as their objective. They just say that. That's just their excuse to bring negative attention to Jewish people, innocent Jews as well as anti-white Jews. They don't care. They just want to bring negative attention to, and then really the colleagues of Warren Baylog up there saying they want to murder all of them one at a time and watch the light go out of their eyes. And there was no joke about it. They weren't laughing. That would have been the sickest joke ever, to talk about murdering an entire group of people. But no joke about it. So when they see us having success, they show up, like on the threads I had after getting iHeartMedia. And here I am. That was our community that did this with iHeartMedia. Changed what a major media platform was using as the image on their story. And you actually had these antags show up in the thread afterward, and they're like, that doesn't mean anything. They're still, they're still in control. Oh, okay. Yeah. It means nothing. We got a major media platform to change the image that they were using by way of a moral imperative. See, these people are just too dumb, too violent, and they have a different objective. Yeah, getting that to change on iHeartMedia doesn't get them any closer to victimizing Jewish people. So, innocent Jewish people, that's the thing you really have to, because they're after all of them. So that's what's their problem. We are all about white well-being and putting an end to anti-whiteism for the good of everyone. All right, let's get into this. Charlie Cheon see what happened to him. Oh, she said, Heidi also says that Ray was able to reach out to others with what we did. It was really amazing. Well, that's awesome. You two are the best. I salute to both of you. That is really awesome. Yeah, make it a celebration. Have a big celebration over that enormous success. You change the world. You change, and that's where the battle is for Western civilization. I will say it a million times, a million more, 10 million more before I'm dead. The battle for Western civilization is at the dinner table. It's at the water cooler. It's at that school meeting. That's where the battle for Western civilization is. It's not on some sort of fictional 10 abreast marching in the streets. It's not on some sort of fictional battlefield with, fat guys in their camo playing in the woods. It's in these real places, the boardrooms, the bus stops. It's in the Friday night get-togethers where somebody says something anti-white and you make them feel very uncomfortable for saying it. That's where the battle for Western civilization is fought. It's where it was lost, and it's where we can win it. All right. Let's go ahead and throw this in here so we can get started and have some fun. There's Charlie beginning his video. Let's roll.
If you're tuning in for the first time, welcome. My name is Charlie. Today, let's talk about a relatively easy.
How is his audio? I don't know that I can make him louder, regrettably. If it's not loud enough. Metalhead forever. Where was your post? Okay, Franklin says it sounds good. Awesome. Where was your post? Was it under one of my videos on the thread? And everybody who financially gifts over the course of this gathering, all of your comments are going to be read. So I will be looking for them as the primary, and then to the tags as Archangel says, my audio is a little bit louder, as it should be. But I know what you mean. Let me make an adjustment here. Okay. Let's go ahead. Today, let's talk about a relatively easy topic.
I want to lay out a guide to de-radicalization as someone who used to hold some pretty radical leftist beliefs.
Okay, so he wants to give you a plan, if you're an anti-white, to de-radicalize you. So violent anti-whites. Moonman says sound is good to him. Says Zinedine, are you an Italian American? You're asking me if I'm Italian. I have all of Southern Europe in me. I have all of the white world, the Western world in me. Primarily German, Scandinavian, and English, but all of Southern Europe, including Italy, Eastern Europe, and Russia. All right. So yeah, think about that. When you think about the final thing I'll say about what happened with Heidi and Raymond there is that how many content creators, organization leaders out there give you things to do, things to say, concepts that you can repeat, arguments that you can make that actually change your world. How many of them do that? Now, I'm not talking about speaking to somebody who already mostly agrees with you, and then you get them to adopt some other element of what would be inside the anti-white narrative considered right wing or something like that. If people do that all the time, and they think that they've accomplished. I had a guy, that was a couple of weeks ago, and who said, "Oh no, well, I'm able to convince a lot of people." And I said, "Well, who? Could you name anybody lately?" And told me about a guy, another right winger, who he convinced of something pretty crazy. And I said, that doesn't actually know. I'm talking about defeating anti-whites and anti-whiteism. Do you have any of that? Do you have any of those? Well, no, of course he doesn't. He's not using the go free method. Let's roll.
I'll be sharing some of the tips that I've used to sort of reach a healthy middle ground. Just as background, I started this YouTube channel around a year ago. And for most of that year, I got like a few hundred views each video. And then the video I uploaded a few weeks ago called The Algorithm Wave and got over 1 million views. And the first thing...
Well, okay, I got to say, it wasn't an algorithm wave. That implies that it's just like by chance. He was just posting videos and hey, he could have been on butterflies and caught the algorithm wave and went to the moon. No, the reason why it went so big, 2 reasons. The first reason is that white people, because they're infected with meme pathogens, anti-white ideas, they believe that their opinions don't matter. But if non-white people hold the same views, then they're validated. White people think we're validated. Some non-white person agrees with us. It's overwhelmingly prevalent in conservative, patriot, nationalist circles. That's why you always see the one non-white person in the crowd is the keynote speaker. White people do it all the time. It's to a detriment, of course, to us, because instead of choosing people who are your rightful leaders like me, you're out there looking for non-whites to be your leaders. I mean, you can look at wonderful people out there, content creators, but if you're non-white and you start if you're a non-white guy, especially if you're a black guy who holds conservative views, your channel is going to the moon, baby. White people will show up by the oceans because they then go out into the world. They will actually say, "Oh no, I got this opinion because it's just," and then they'll name the person. And so let's say he has like a name or a name normally associated with a white person. They'll throw in, "Oh yeah, and he's a black guy. He's a black guy, and he agrees with us." I always was like, who gives a shit? It's either it's legitimate or not legit. He shouldn't matter. But I knew exactly why the race of the person mattered. So that's the number one reason. A non-white person was saying, hey, what's happening to white people is wrong. And he was actually saying the kinds of things that white people see. The same white people who would have nothing to do with my Germanic featured male ass, my white ass with my Germanic features. Same white people have nothing to do with me, would run for cover. Immediately watch this video. Immediately went out, I guarantee you, and shared his video. Immediately sent his video to friends and family. Folks, you can't win that way. We're not going to recapture our destiny that way. We are not going to be able to push back against anti-whiteism that way. These folks can be wonderful. They can be wonderful human beings. I guess, and many of them are. Charlie is from what we can see from the videos, a great guy. We don't know what else is going on, but we know he's from the videos. We know he's a great guy. There are plenty of great non-white content, conservative content creators out there, patriotic content creators out there. But the white race is not going to recapture our destiny. The white race is not going to overcome anti-whiteism with non-white people leading the charge. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. There are infinite number of ways to undermine that approach, if you will, that vehicle, that angle. And trust me, the anti-whites would pick out more than enough, all that they needed to undermine that endeavor. The second reason why his video went so large is because of anti-whites who hate him for this. They're going to be passing that around. They want to know, how much did he reveal about what we actually say, about how we actually feel? How much damage did he do? So the primary driver is white people who have no self-worth whatsoever as a consequence of anti-whiteism. And so they look for non-white people to give them self-worth. And then the secondary reason is anti-whites who would like to see this guy crucified for coming out and objecting to the way white people are being treated, not a chance algorithm.
That I felt, well, there were a lot of things that I was feeling, but primarily I felt afraid because up until then, it was people within my own circles watching my.
So he felt afraid from all these people.
Videos, and then all of a sudden, like I had complete strangers commenting, making reaction videos about me and stuff.
So he was afraid from all these people that were coming in and commenting. Of course, we were there to support him, but he also had folks that traditionally were allies to his, other non-whites, who showed up and they were being violent. I don't see my review on there that he shared, but that's fine.
Stuff, and some of it negative. And yeah, I felt afraid, and making reaction videos about me and stuff, and some of it negative. And yeah, I felt afraid.
See, that is very real. That fear that he was feeling, that's very real. He knows what they do. He knows how they ruin reputations. He knows thereby how they prevent you from getting jobs, promotions, etc. He knows how they make lives harder. He knows how they destroy property because he's been in the circles where they talk about going and destroying property. He knows how they go after people's lives. Yes, Sarah from White Sympathetic Sphere, how they go out with wrenches and hammers and hit people over the head who are not anti-white. He knows that because he's heard them talk about it. He's heard them plan it. He's heard them laud it. So he knows that his fear is palpable.
But really, it's something that I want to train myself to get used to, because if I want to do this, share my opinions publicly, people are free to criticize it in turn. I hope my channel grows and I'll have the opportunity to reach more people and have them consider, some of the things that I bring up. So I should be grateful, and I hope it continues. I also want to.
Mind Over Magic, no, Salty did not reach out to me, and I don't expect he ever will. Did you actually speak with him, or was there a back and forth on a thread where he said, yeah, he'll come over? I mean, didn't Franklin have Franklin did. Franklin had a super chat with what's his name, and the guy said, yeah, we'll have him on. And then the guy never responded to me. But I really appreciate the effort. I mean, the more we put it in their face, the more we're out there talking about me, just like somebody who couldn't be more irrelevant, Dirty Fuentes. His followers just talk about him all the time, and that's why anybody cares what he says. Nobody should care what he says. He has nothing to say, nothing of value to say. I left a comment on his video and someone responded but couldn't read it. All right. Well, no, I haven't heard from him. What was that guy, Franklin? What was the guy's name that you financially gifted? I just had it. Mind Over Magic saying, Sydney Watson, no, I'm afraid she's wrapped up in that same money. We've reached out to her before. She is not responding. So I'm afraid not. Elijah Schaefer, that's the guy. Yep. He was like, yeah, we'll have him on. Solutions? Do we really want to have somebody on with solutions? I don't think so. The world for what it actually is. This is messed up, isn't it?
I want to learn to stop worrying about things that are, beyond my control. To be clear, what people think about me is for sure within my control, to the extent that the biggest determinant of that is what I say and how I say it. But I'm also coming to learn that there will also be people, regardless of what I say, who will jump to conclusions and not want to hear me out, which is, I don't blame them, because, I think that it's something that all of us do to one degree or another, myself included, which is something that I'm trying to work on. The reason why I'm saying all of this is because after my last two videos where I basically talked.
Oh, he's a thoughtful guy. And this is a predictable first course, first direction for him to go. And that is, let me try reason and logic with them. So that's totally understandable.
About how, in my opinion, the progressive left is in reality teaching things that is completely antithetical to true racial justice. I got a good number of people saying,
okay, so progressive left, by that he means anti-whiteism. They're teaching things that are antithetical to justice. Well, yeah, because it's all about victimizing the white race. It's all about destroying Western civilization because white people made it, in my
this
opinion.
and that, like, oh, like you must be far right wing, like I'm helping white supremacy, blah blah. I think that has become
Okay. So, just as I've said infinite times, a non-white person, and why does this matter? It matters because it demonstrates to you what objectively the score actually is. He came out and he came out and said, look at what we're doing to white people. It's not good. It's not fair. They immediately called him a white supremacist. It's white supremacy to not want to victimize white people, to not want to white erase what white people project and create and need and survive on. You can very easily find the score this way. It amazes me to no end that people get into these long discussions and they want to follow people, these academic peacocks, and they just want to hear about all the different books that they've read. And it's in your face. It's like a stench on your body, and you try to pull out, you can't get away from it. How does everybody miss this?
Somewhat of a norm in certain circles to immediately dismiss people who don't toe the party line and espouse the mainstream woke views as being some, right-wing Republican, whatever. But I want to make this video in part to send a message to those folks that think this way.
Okay, so calling him a right-wing punk as well, or the equivalent thereof.
That there are a lot of people, including moderates and liberals in the traditional sense, not just right-wing conservatives, who are not okay with the direction that the woke crowd is taking our civil discourse. And you're alien.
Now, what he will find, and if he were to talk to me, he would be able to know ahead of time, was that if he comes out and speaks out against anything that will undermine an anti-white's ability to victimize Western kind and our projections, our creations, they will call him a white supremacist. And his subject matter need not have anything to do with race whatsoever. If he doesn't know what's going on, he will defend his position by saying, your objection makes no sense because this issue has nothing to do with race. And then he'll give a litany of examples of how it's actually raceless. Why won't that work? Because the attacker, the anti-white, is not honestly representing their position. They are not going to honestly say, except when cornered, that this is all about victimizing, that we just want to victimize the white race. And so we come up with a shit ton of excuses to be able to do that. So this guy's a smart guy, but he's trapped in the anti-white narrative. So like a fish in the deep sea, doesn't know he's in water.
Alienating a lot of people. I want you to know, and I know this from having my own realization about the people around me, that unless you're sealed off, tightly in an extra isolated echo chamber, there are many around you who are nodding along to what you're saying, but disagreeing in silence, A, because of the mob of people that will attack them and try to ruin their personal lives, and B,
Right.
they've come to learn that it's nearly impossible to have a fruitful dialogue with someone who believes that to hold any other view than the one they hold is to be oppressive.
Okay, let me point out how epic the Go Free method is right here. This guy was at UCLA, I think he went to. He was in these radical anti-white circles. Some of them really radical. Some of the people really radical. Some more moderate anti-whites. And he said, some of you out there in these circles are saying these really radical things, and the folks around you are nodding, but that's because they're afraid. Why are they afraid? Well, for some of the reasons we cited. But the other reason is that they don't have an alternative moral imperative. They only have the anti-white moral imperative. So they know if they object, which as Charlie is doing, that they're going to be attacked with this is the moral thing to do, to victimize white people because of X, Y, Z, etc. 1, 2, 3. Morality trumps everything. Morality trumps facts. It trumps statistics. It trumps laws. I figured this out. Now, what if the people in these circles had awareness of an alternative moral imperative? One that says the victimization of white people has gone too far, that it's actually anti-whiteism. That weakens those circles where they exist, and they exist all over. Our victimizers being weakened in their hive is a good thing. This is one of the countless ways that the Go Free method changes the landscape for us.
You think that the people who oppose you must be some sort of an extremist because you're not aware that what you believe in is itself extreme. Because if you did, you wouldn't believe in it, which is, sort of the whole point. I think it's extreme what this ideology teaches, that to dissent is to somehow contribute to an oppressive system, that the immutable identity of the person making an argument supersedes the merits of what they're saying.
Now, here's a way that he's going to go wrong. This is the conservative approach, that he's going to talk about some objective use or lack of use of an argument, and that it makes it more valid because it is outside of the personal wills that are contesting. So this claim that the person's immutable characteristic has something to do with their argument, that doesn't apply anywhere in reality, except that when white people are going to make an argument, that's coming from a person with immutable characteristics that are evil. That doesn't apply to any other group. So what he's talking about right there, without saying it and thinking he's making his point more valid, is that when white people make arguments, they're irrelevant because white people are evil. When white people decry their victimization, it's irrelevant because white people are evil. You have to speak the devil's name to exorcise him. You cannot win with this mealy-mouthed garbage.
And that there's a sole cause for disparities we see in society today. And that to argue against that is to cause violence to the quote-unquote marginalized. This is extreme language. Saying things like, if you don't pick a side, you've chosen the side of the oppressor. If you're not...
And the marginalized, another meme pathogen. The marginalized, they're harmed by the white population from birth till death by our very presence. How do you remedy our presence? You think about it, folks. You don't even have to think about it, because I did, and it's in Go Free.
Actively engage in politics, that comes from a place of privilege. Whether or not you're aware, that's emotional blackmail. You need to stand with us. We need not convince you by the merits of our arguments, but rather by appeal to your emotion. If you don't want to be isolated, if you don't want to go against the cultural headwind and be labeled a dinosaur or a bigot, you need to stand with us. To be clear, not all progressive people who believe those views are like this. And in fact, there are many progressive people who are kind and considerate of other people's opinions, but enough are like this that it's becoming a noticeable problem. It may be easy for you to...
Yeah, it's been that way for, of course, a very long time. But you have honest people, and different things happen in people's lives, but you have honest people like Charlie Cheon, and he was taken up by anti-whiteism. He has a couple of maybe genetic traits or traits of his upbringing where he's given this anti-white narrative. And that's what you have to appreciate, is that what he's saying here is that the anti-white narrative that we're forced to believe is reality is actually false. We all know that it's actually false. Or, I mean, many midwits and uber midwits, I get that there are folks out there who think that the soup we live in is the real world. But he was able to, when he was able to see, wow, the real world and this anti-white narrative that we're taught are two totally different things. This is false. And what's actually happening is the white race is being victimized. And so we should think about this. We should is this a good thing? So it was courageous of him to speak out. And also, obviously, the powers of intelligence to be able to see in whatever degree he's able to see the difference between the narrative and the real world. So being honest with himself, that power of discernment.
I think like, oh, he's saying this because he's a right-wing conservative, which like, if you want to think that, that is certainly your prerogative. And as a normative matter, there's nothing wrong with being a conservative. But as a descriptive matter, I personally don't think it's all that accurate. Because yeah, I've certainly departed from my former leftist views. And after a lot of reflection, I do stand firm with conservatives in saying that this wokeism ideology is taking us backwards. But there are traditionally liberal things that I continue to believe in and would disagree with conservatives about. For example, I believe that unions are the only means by which workers can gain power and leverage and engage in collective bargaining.
This is why another one of the many reasons, the right-left paradigm is a creation of the anti-white narrative, and we totally reject it. It's like a pair of those old 3D glasses that were garbage. You still have it from like 30 years ago, and they're paper and they're falling apart. We can pick it up and we can see, all right, this is how they're seeing the world. Obviously, if you didn't have unions to protect workers, and the government that wasn't protecting workers, then you have capitalist business owners who will absolutely rape the workers to death. They will take everything. So you need unions to protect workers, to build rights for the workers, to get a little vacation time. And then you have, on the other side of the equation, once unions become too powerful, they become a detriment. So as advocates for white well-being, we're able to see, we don't have to go onto the left or then onto the right. We're able to see, looking down on this mess, where it works, where it doesn't work. And we don't have to decide today. We don't have to get into that political debate today about where it's working and where it should work or where it's got to be changed, because there's something far more important. It's the survival of Western civilization and our people that we have to attend to.
And while
Mind Over Magic saying thinks that I guess Salty Cracker might be worried about being canceled. You can look on, we don't use canceled. That's something anti-whites use, but have his channel taken from him, censored from the platform, tongue cut out of his mouth. But I'm on YouTube. And look how long I've been on YouTube. Look how many videos I've made on YouTube. So it'd be easy to look at the work that I'm doing, how long I've been here, to determine that I'm a safe guy to talk to.
While there are some issues with certain public sector unions, like teachers unions come to mind, but I don't like it when giant corporations like Starbucks engage in union busting tactics. And look, I believe in a robust social safety net. I'm not particularly fond of when people call it a handout, but here's the difference now. In my past self, I used to get mad when someone...
Before he goes into that, what he's doing here, just if you're curious, he's making arguments to former friends and family even that, oh, I've not gone too far from the positions that you hold, love dear, and that, hold dear and you love, etc. And I'm trying to make this reasonable, rational argument because predictably he thinks that reason and logic is going to work with anti-whites as a first course of action. And he may stick with it for his whole life and then just be baffled by the people. Let's get a big round of raucous emojis for Devlin, who just financially gifted over on Cash App $25 US. God bless you, my friend. God bless you so much. Raucous emojis for this gentleman. He says, with $25, God bless you, sir. Well, God bless you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, man. I really do appreciate it. Numerical Courage says, I'd love for this guy to come on the stream. I would too. I don't see it happening, though. He seems like he's getting a lot of threats. Seems like he's afraid, and that's understandable that he's afraid of the anti-whites. All right, let's continue.
Call it a handout. I would go on the offensive and say, this term is racist because it's associated with the handout. But here's the difference now. In my past self, I used to get mad when someone would call it a handout. I would go on the offensive and say, this term is racist because it's associated with the notion of a welfare queen stemming from the late 1900s. I don't make those kinds of arguments anymore. I've come to see also the other side of the argument now and realize that such programs, when administered inefficiently, creates perverse incentives for people who are capable of working to avoid work. Some of that is actually going on right now. I've seen it firsthand. And
so there is, what we would say is there are deserving poor and undeserving poor. And you can put strategies in place to discourage and even end the waste of the undeserving poor, and then have all of the resources for the deserving poor to be able to lift people up. And you have to be able to accept, and this is why sometimes women in leadership just don't go together. You have to be able to accept that some people are going to ruin themselves. And that's the way the world has to work. And there are a lot of women, no, we can't let them hurt themselves. That's why you have so many women with morbidly obese pets, single women with morbidly obese pets, fat children who are just so indulged, they do nothing but go out into the world and become criminals. That's why. Because there isn't discipline.
As a general matter, we should not structure our incentives to lead people to act in a way that if everybody acted in that way, society would suffer. But then we shouldn't outright eliminate it because there are people who actually need it. So then the question then becomes, how do we fix our social safety net so that it becomes actually, means tested, that only people who unquestionably need it can access it? And how do we devise a system to encourage as many of those people as possible to eventually be able to live without government assistance? Because a safety net can't be a permanent home, right? And I don't know how that can be done, but the point...
I'll just tell you really quickly why we have to defeat anti-whiteism, because the kind of arguments that he is making here are reason-based, logic-based, and they can all be overcome with a moral-based argument. And this is why I say it's all about retributive justice against the white race. This is why we have to defeat anti-whiteism. His arguments are very powerful in the absence of the anti-white moral imperative. Because an anti-white can go in there and say, but white people all of this time, non-white people deserve you. Do you really want to have non-white people suffering in the streets while white people are, when they have had it lived high on the hog for so long? The morality will trump the reason and logic.
The point is that the people who are calling it a handout are using that term, perhaps not artfully, to speak to those valid concerns. While I'm not going to use that term myself, I've come to the new understanding that trying to angrily shut down people for using that term is, not doing anything to advance the dialogue or to convince people who disagree with you. Rather, what I was doing in my past was I was getting the narrative upper hand by racializing it in order to silence dissent.
What did I just say? He just said the racial upper hand. He used the anti-white moral imperative to win all of these conversations. But exactly what I just said. How many times has Jason got to be proven right? How many times? I'm going to open my window. I'm going to shout outside. How many times does Jason have to be proven right? Moments after I say it. This guy, Charlie, immediately says, this is how I won all those conversations before. Golly. It hurts to be this good. And then to have the whole world, they're like, Kim, I'm not going to listen to anything he has to say. Fuck that guy. No, don't retweet him. No, don't repost him. He only gets it right 100% of the time, almost. Guy just says it. So, how would you have derailed his anti-white moral imperative in those conversations that this very bright young man said he used in every case to win? Just as I say, is used in every case to win. You come back at him with another moral imperative. How do you defeat the evil concept racist that he would have wielded then? With another concept, anti-white. I could have easily defeated him when he was a radical anti-white in argument. even though he would have recourse to the anti-white moral imperative.
And I was doing that fully aware of what I was doing. And look,
And did you just hear that? He was using the anti-white moral imperative, and he was fully aware he was doing that to win these arguments unscrupulously. He even had a little smile. Look at this again. Look at this again. Watch closely, and you'll see how right I am.
rather, what I was doing in my past was I was getting the narrative upper hand by racializing it in order to silence dissent. And I was doing that fully aware of what I was doing. And look, like,
and fully aware what I was doing, a little smile, and he had to edit it right there because his smile probably got bigger. Knowing I silenced all of these white people and some of the non-white people who were conservatives or patriots like this, all their great arguments like that, all I had to do was break out that moral imperative.
I get it, because I think there is an enormous amount of pressure on us to pick a side and stick with that side for every issue. And I was part of the problem because I used to be one of those people that sort of looked down on moderates, like, oh, you wishy-washy jerk, pick a lane. You're like the agnostics of politics. And I'm not saying this to disparage you. If you are firmly on one side or the other, everyone has different life experiences, values, and conception of right and wrong, and you're entitled to your political beliefs, that align with all of that.
That's part of the problem that he just mentioned there. Everyone has different conceptions of right and wrong.
But I just think that our public discussions would be more fruitful if maybe not all of us, but more of us began to earnestly and fairly consider the merits of what the other side is saying. And B, if more people who aren't right-wing Republicans began speaking out against how extreme the left.
Let's see that again.
For people who fairly consider the merits of what the other side is saying. And B, if more people who aren't right-wing Republicans began speaking out against how extreme the left has gotten with this wokeism ideology in the past 10 years, we will perhaps see a greater pushback.
Okay, what did I just say? What did I say about their circles? What did I say moments ago? There is no pushback in their circles because there isn't an alternative moral imperative. If in their circles, he's saying, if we saw more people in these extreme, what we would call anti-white circles, extreme progressive circles, who pushed back against this, we might be able to rein in some of the most radical elements of this. Why can't they? Because they don't have an alternative moral imperative. We have it for them. Could you imagine in one of these circles, UCLA, and some of these anti-whites who aren't as radical as the ones he's talking about here said, this kind of sounds like what I've heard on the internet is called anti-whiteism, where it's just this specific targeting of white people on the basis of the way they were born. Is that really what's being argued here? Or is there something more? Could you imagine? The earth would move under your feet. He is confirming. I love this guy. I love this Charlie Cheon. He's confirmed how many times that I'm right now.
Against what so many of us are not okay with, but are scared to talk about. In my opinion, as it stands today, and I think I'm being fair here, this kind of censorship and intolerance of difference of opinion is far more prevalent with the progressive left than it is with the conservative right. How many incidents have you seen of right-wing conservatives marching onto college campuses to shout over invited speakers to try to get them kicked out?
Okay, why does that not happen? Why is it that conservatives, you can get it wrong. Let's see it. Will anybody get it right? Why is it that conservatives don't march across campus to shout down an anti-white speaker? Anybody? Because reason and logic and facts don't move passion, but morality does. So, who's going to win that contest? The screaming, raving, impassioned, will work all through the night, etc. person, because there's a moral imperative. Remember, it's moral imperative. It's ideas that animate human beings. is it going to be that group, or is it going to be the group that said, I really studied things here, and let's hear what the other side has to say? No, obviously. This is how it's been going since our great-grandparents. Why did I have to come along? I should have been born to a fabulous United States where the Southland was beautiful and very Southern, every tip and bit of it, where I could pursue things just to make my ass happy because it was such a wonderful place to live. Instead, I got to come along and I got to put up with all the BS, the Bravo Sierra from the anti-whites, and then all the Bravo Sierra from the jealous content creators out there, the people who won't talk to me, because we have solutions.
I think there's many people across the spectrum of beliefs who would like the progressive left to turn down the temperature. So if you are interested, here are some tips on de-radicalization or a roadmap.
Well, Mind Over Magic saying invoke Viking warrior spirit. White people have to have, and perhaps all people, have to have a moral imperative to be impassioned. They have to have a structure. Specifically, I'll speak for white people. If we don't have a moral imperative, if we don't have a structure within a matrix within to act, we call that criminality. We will overlook what is normally criminal acts if it's motivated by an overarching morality. But outside of a moral matrix, it's called criminality. This is the argument that I had with Spencer, one of the arguments I had with Spencer years ago, that what he was arguing for was sort of this like wild, violent mentality that's just I guess motivated by rapping, or maybe succinctly motivated by rapping, that they're just going to violence for violence sake. And I said, white people will not do that. I think these arguments about, for example, about Vikings and what they were motivated by are part of the anti-white narrative, that they were these thoughtless beasts. I think that's just a big part of the anti-white narrative. But of course, yes, Mind Over Magic is not suggesting violence that is normally associated with the invocation of a Viking. Probably thanks to Vikings did a lot of other things other than wage war. But in the anti-white narrative, that's all we all know about them. I wonder why.
To the middle. First of all, you should befriend people who have different political viewpoints than you do. Sounds simple enough, right? But it's really important. When you befriend someone from the opposite side of the political aisle, it humanizes a faceless entity.
Definitely not Kalergi is here. Hello and welcome. Esoteric Masonry is here as well. The Final Fast, is that what that says? Fest is here. So what he's suggesting here to this road, he's suggesting to these anti-whites who are radical. He's suggesting find somebody who's not an anti-white to become friends with, and then you will humanize them. Why do you have to humanize someone? It's because you've dehumanized them. That's why. Who are the people that need to be humanized? It's predominantly the white race, but it's any non-white people who have adopted ideas, belief system, etc., that in some way could benefit white people, directly or indirectly. Maybe freedom of speech, right to self-defense, etc. They also, in turn, just like Charlie here, getting dehumanized now, they have been dehumanized.
You get to know the person, you start to develop trust and love and respect for that person, and then you start to question, how does someone whom I love, trust, and respect hold the kinds of views that I thought only immoral people held? Is there something that I'm not seeing? And if you hear...
What did he just say? How do they hold the views that only blank have? immoral people have. So, back to what I was saying moments ago. These people are operating with a moral imperative. Oh my God. How do we have like 100 people watching and I'm right I'm like batting 1,000. I'm right everywhere. There's a messed up world, boys.
That, and then you're thinking, how can I be friends with someone who doesn't believe in my basic right to exist? That is the exact type of thinking that I'm talking about. You see, that is your interpretation of their views, an out of touch interpretation at that. Because I can guarantee you that none of these people that hold these views hold them thinking, oh, I want to deny certain groups the basic right to exist. They hold them because they think it's the right thing to believe in. And when you befriend people from the opposite side of the political aisle, it shatters the illusion of the faceless evil entity. And you realize that there are real human beings.
They need to be humanized. They're not this is how white people are able to be victimized with impunity. This is how white people are able to be victimized with joy. This is how all of these laws give. This is why a country created by white people can have its borders obliterated so that that agreement that we have as citizen and government is totally destroyed. The government is, we allow the government to have some of the rights given to us by nature or God. And then they have to protect all of that so that we can have civility, which protect us from each other, there'll be a border, etc. The government, anti-white, has taken away all of these rights, still has the requirements placed upon us, now with chains, but doesn't hold up an ounce of their end of the deal. And they do it with a smile. They're able to do that with a smile because white people have been dehumanized.
Good human beings on the other side of your argument. Then you also start to realize that what makes a person good or bad is far more determined by how they treat others in their individual capacity, not by the viewpoints they hold. When I went to college, my first friend, the first person that I talked to at orientation was this Indian American guy from the rural parts of Illinois. And he was a staunch conservative. We had diametrically opposing viewpoints, but he was the nicest and the most considerate guy ever. And we became close friends. We would often debate politics over drinks, like cool people do. But we actually had a falling out. Towards the end of my junior year, he made this Facebook post in support of Trump when Trump was a candidate. And I was like, dude, I know your viewpoints, but how can you possibly be supporting Trump? And I just cut him out of my life.
Whoa. People suffered that everywhere. There's this Trump phenomenon, and I can't believe it hasn't been articulated and named and written about. There was this Trump phenomenon that I think broke up more marriages and friendships than any single other event in the country's history. Easily. Why aren't there books about this, numerous books? Why aren't there panels about this? Why don't people talk about this? And what did it come down to? It came down to what people projected onto Trump was that he was going to protect white people in some way. And all of these associations, sometimes you had marriages that both partners were conservatives. But and I know some that this happened to. But when Trump got elected, they split, they divorced over Trump, either right away or into his presidency, where the one continued to support Trump and the other one was just like, I'm here for the economics of it. And I'm ultimately, they're saying to themselves that there's some kind of like anti-white light. And they actually divorced. We saw there were stories about people who were engaged, that engagements broke off because of Trump. And it came down to, in every case, unspoken, unless I knew about it and I was able to speak to it and go right to the crux of the matter, that one partner wanted to stick with Trump because he or she was projecting onto Trump this desire to protect the white race to some degree at all from what's going on in America. The other partner, male or female, doing the same thing. See, what Trump actually did is irrelevant here. It's the perception. Doing the same thing and finding that objectionable. So it was on the basis, these marriages were ended. People engaged, those engagements ended. Longtime friendships, like Cheon is talking about, ended over morality, the anti-white morality.
And I took that to be evidence that Trump was this divisive figure. But looking back, it was me that wanted nothing to do with my friend. He didn't want to cut it off. He wanted a dialogue. And
there you have it. To be right so many times. All the money you think at these different Daily Wires and Crowders and Salty people and all of this other stuff, all of their audience, massive audiences, and they're not right, not even a quarter of the time. Charlie Cheon said, it was me because of the morality. The other guy wanted to have a dialogue. He wanted to have a conversation about it. Victorian time traveler said his sister-in-law said that he was harming children by voting for Trump. What does that have to do with an argument of what Trump is actually going to do for people who live in the United States citizens, or make the United States wealthier so that we get wealthier, or make the United States stronger militarily so that we're stronger, etc. Nothing, has nothing to do with that. That is a hysterical female motivated by an anti-white morality, looking for the most painful thing that she can say to Victorian time traveler. You are going to be the reason that babies are going to get harmed. Magic says, Jason, it's an inverted world. You're battling 2,000 and should be getting 2 million views right now. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Helios Abbott has shown up. And you know, folks, as we continue to the end of this review, it's really going to come down. I mean, I'm going to be doing, as I have been for 3 decades, I'm going to be pushing with all the might of a poor white guy in a country that absolutely hates white guys, especially when they look like this. All right. So it's going to come down. I'm going to keep pushing, but it's going to come down to whatever little I can do and how much you can do. So we need people who are going to make it their mission, who are going to make it with their talents, with their looks, with their wit, with their musical talents. We're going to need all of us coming together to push, or it just simply isn't going to happen. This country hates me. The general population hates me. If you're a white guy, you're hated. You're at the bottom. If you're a white guy that has a Germanic look to your face, you got fair skin, you are the worst. They hate you the most. You got light-colored eyes. This society hates you the most. Just the general run-of-the-mill people flipping through TikTok, flipping through Twitter, see a white guy with looks like that, and they're just like, no, thank you. Demon in every movie I've looked at, serial killer in every movie I've watched. Never mind, you go look at the actual serial killers, for example, and see that most of them who are light-skinned are not actually white. But never mind that, because in all of the movies, all these sitcom movies, all of the Hallmark movies, it's the white guy with the square jaw, clean cut, Moses grass. He actually has 20 bodies in the basement. Go and look at the actual people who committed those kind of crimes. Not like that at all. But this is what you get in the West. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Here I am, born to this time when, in my opinion, because I can have my tongue cut out for making some sort of affirmative factual statement, but how many things have been invented by white people, including Western civilization? And I'm born to this, and the whole country hates me. I have to have some sort of sexual. You have to be if you're going to be white, you have to have some sort of sexual deviancy. You have to. Something's got to be weird, or you have to be. I mean, ultimately, if you are Well, maybe we get into that. Maybe we'll talk about that on Sunday so we can get back to this. We'll keep rolling with this. But I do want to make a point. I'm going to come back to it on Sunday as well, semi-related, that we are Western kind. That's the word we use here. Further, we are Westmen. That means men, women, and children. There's not West women. It's Westmen, like human. Westmen. WSTMAN is singular, MEN plural. All of these other locutions we don't use in this community. Now you could use a locution like European derived or this sort of thing just to help explain something to somebody if they're not quite understanding Westman or something. But you can't put these things in the place of Western kind. We're not going to be able to push Western kind into usage if there are folks out there using these other locutions. They don't work. I have tried over the years everything else, and it doesn't work.
And I didn't acknowledge my role in the whole situation. I blamed Trump for losing a friend, but it was actually me. All the things that I knew about my friend, how I knew he was a kind, considerate, and caring person, all that went out the window. I just saw him as this label, a Trump supporter. And now I also think to myself, with regret, how lonely he must have felt. Because I'm sure I'm not the only one that, cut it off with him. And it took him a lot of courage to speak up for what he believed in so publicly, especially at a school like UCLA. All that is to say, I think we would all be far better off, if we stopped shunning people and forming relationships with people who hold viewpoints that oppose our viewpoints. If people are serious about bringing civility back to politics, this is something that people should consider. Secondly, you should consider watching news from both sides. This is something that I actively try to do, but it can be so difficult at times because you get frustrated, watching someone say something on TV that you disagree with because it's like a one-way dialogue, right? You can't say anything back. But this is also really important. That's because we've gone past the point of competing news sources, presenting the same news with their own ideological bent.
So this is a sort of an upstart sort of position, and it's predictable, and it's make friends. If you're an anti-white, make friends with white people, or make friends with non-white people who share conservative opinions or who hold conservative opinions. Humanize them. Don't just throw them in with all of the demons that can be torched and all the things that the demons created that can be torched. Make friends with them. Anti-whites are not going to do that. So I commend, and it's predictable, but Charlie, if you ever watch this, which you probably won't because you got a white guy here with light features and a Germanic face, that's not going to work. They're not going to make friends. And then he's talking about news sources, get other news sources for these anti-whites. That's not going to happen either, because what you're asking them to do is to be immoral. This is what conservatives, this is what Benny Shapiro would say. You're only reading your leftist, your woke news, your wokey news. It's not going to work because you are telling them or asking them to be immoral. You can only defeat a morality with another morality.
If you watch news from both sides, you start to realize that they're presenting completely different.
Right. European civilization, no, it's Western civilization. And it's not native European, it's Western kind or Westman. I've tried all of these. They don't work. Regular Americans, which is the ones I hit up with all of these over the years, does not work with them for various reasons. They instantly recognize, though, Western kind, and in most cases, they like it. They like the sound of it. And Westmen usually just one step more. Like, that's us, men of the West. And they're like, yeah, men of the West, yeah, I like that.
Different news stories, except for the headline grabbers that all news sources will invariably share. For the smaller news stories where there is much greater editorial leeway to share or not share, The news media will share it only if it comports with the worldview of their core audience. And I think that this is not the fault of the media. It's the fault of consumers who think that their chosen news outlets is, somehow betraying them if the outlets start sharing, too much news that run counter to these consumers' worldview. Look, this is not good for.
When he's saying worldview, what he means is morality that runs contrary to their morality.
For so many reasons. Because let's say you're a person that exclusively consumes news from one side. If you watch, listen to, and read news from one side, you miss out on all the smaller news stories that the other side is sharing that could challenge your worldview. And so when you do that day after day, it builds up, and then you collect this repertoire of events that you've seen from the world that leads you to believe in certain things. And when one news story that conflicts with a worldview, makes it on to the headlines of your chosen news outlets because it's such a big story that can't be avoided, the repertoire of hundreds and hundreds of videos that you've seen over the years serves as a mental shield. It allows you to say, oh, this is a unique exception, not the rule. It changes nothing, even though there are far more smaller news stories like it that hasn't come to your attention. And third, the last tip I want to share with you as a good step to de-radicalization is to stop attributing bad motives to people that disagree with you. Both in your mind and in the things you say. Argue the merits of what people are saying. This is something that we see all the time, and this is something that I've experienced firsthand, disappointingly, from law students in their late 20s. You have no idea what's going on in my head. I'm saying all of this because...
Yeah, so he's pointing out something that I've had to deal with, but from a different direction, if you will. He's talking about anti-whites who are attributing to anybody who holds a contrary position to anti-whiteism ill motives, because what comes from immorality, the opposite of their morality, is ill motives, malice aforethought. Like I'm talking about Western Kind and Westman a moment ago. I'll have people who will say, oh, it's just somehow an ego thing. It's just somehow a selfish thing. Even though I just got done saying I've used all of these others over the years and found that these work. The others did not. So rest assured, you'll find somebody, you'll talk to somebody who'll say that what I just said to you.
Because I believe this to be true. But it's oftentimes easier to score cheap points by attributing bad motives to people that disagree with you. But these ad hominem attacks do very little to convince people that disagree with you or are on the fence about it. Rather, it's just red meat that you're throwing to people who agree with you. And look, this is something that I personally have a hard time with as well, because I think that the progressive left does not truly care about Asian people. From the things that I'm seeing, it feels a lot like we're being used as political pawns. That when it fits their narrative, we're a victimized minority. But when it doesn't, we're some sort of, new oppressors. There are people...
again. Saw this comment in the live chat. White skin needs protection from the sun, just like diamonds need protection from lava or acid. Or yeah. So what's your point?
Feels a lot like we're being used as political pawns. I personally have a hard time with as well, because I think that the progressive left does not truly care about Asian people. From the things that I'm seeing, it feels a lot like we're being used as...
Okay, so this is well, let's hear what he has to say here.
Political pawns. That when it fits their narrative, we're a victimized minority. But when it doesn't, we're some sort of, new oppressors. There are people out there saying that Asian...
So what happens to black people when black people are conservatives? It's no different. So when black people stand up and say, like you've had whole groups of blacks in the United States, history of the United States, who have come together and said, we don't want any part of this. Sometimes they said, we want to go back to Africa. Other times they said, this is ruining our community. They didn't call it anti-whiteism, but it's what it was. Anti-whiteism is ruining our communities. It's ruining our families. Their collateral damage to what's being targeted at white people. When they push back against anti-whiteism, then they are the white supremacists. They are. So he's talking about Asians. What he's talking about is he was called a white supremacist. He was called white supremacist for his video. Any Asians that stand up against anti-whiteism and that march to just destroy everything that white people have created, which many Asian people want, many good people of all immutable characteristics want, things like the civility in the land, law and order in the land, they then are going to be tagged with these anti-white slurs. So it's not about, don't get confused with this and think that you have some ally group, because that's showing that you have a deep weakness. I've seen it over the years where white people being victimized will make arguments. Oh, we need to ally with the Asians because they're next. No, they're not next. We are it. And you need to stop being such a coward. This is all about targeting us. And I'm telling you what right now, the white people who survive this are going to be the ones who are looking at it subjectively, are going to be the ones that are going to be saying, what about us? Tired of us being victimized. The white people that go out there and say, well, the Asians too, they're going to just talk about the Asians. Because remember, they have no self-worth as white people. And Asian people who are good people or bad people or whatever are going to be happy to take their support and money. And trust me, there are plenty of white people ready to line up and give support and money and follows and likes on every Asian conservative content creator, every lawsuit from an Asian group against a university or whatever. White people are going to show up in droves to support that because they have no self-worth. It's not going to result in anything good for you. Anti-whiteism is all about victimizing white people. Asian people get victimized just like black people get victimized or Hispanic people get victimized as collateral damage, in my opinion, as collateral damage to the attack that's actually taking place. Now, from his perspective, I get why he would say that, but this is the reality of it. It isn't anti-Asianism in the United States, and it won't be. There will be Asians who are called white supremacists. There will be Asians that are called new oppressors because they are deviating from anti-whiteism. Those particular Asians, not the entire Asian population. I mean, did we not just see all these tech firms, all these radical anti-whites who happen to be Asian? I mean, didn't this guy actually play videos of radical anti-whites who happen to be Asian in the previous video? Yes. Let's continue.
Kids studying hard to get good grades, that's white supremacy. And I think that's completely bogus.
Oh my God, he even said that. Asian kids studying hard to get good grades is white supremacy. How right can Jason be? I love this guy, Charlie. I love you. Charlie confirms that I'm right again and again and again. I could be on YouTube for 500 years and I'm not going to get to 100,000 subs. White guy, light features, Germanic face, body like our best statues. But I love this guy.
So it frustrates me when people espouse those views. But when I argue with individuals, I have to try to stop myself from thinking, oh, this person, doesn't care about Asian people because they believe in this. For all I know, they could, in their minds, believe that they do care about Asian people and that what they're advocating for is in the best interest of Asian people. So then what good is it going to do if I just go on the offensive and say, oh, you're anti-Asian, instead of laying out the reasons why I think that the progressive left, what they're teaching is diametrically opposed to the long-term interests of Asian people. It's so much.
Okay, so he's concerned about his people. God bless him. I wish white people cared about white people as a whole. We don't. There's another curse. That's what we have to learn. He's saying, well, I think all these anti-white policies, they're not anti-Asian, but all these anti-white policies are creating a world that won't be good for my Asian people because there won't be freedom of association, because people will get the job based on their race rather than on their innate abilities and the time they invested. because on and on, because there won't be civility, because there are all these things of the West that good Asian people also love and want to stay in place. He's saying ultimately these anti-white policies will destroy all of that, and that won't be good for Asian people. Good for him.
Easier to do that, to attribute bad motives to your opponents, but in the long run, that's to your own detriment.
One other thing I wanted to mention, how soon does anybody want to bet that this guy gets a six-figure job for a conservative outlet? How soon? How soon? You just wait and see. The other thing I wanted to say is how ineffective, as wonderful as this guy seems, he seems like a super nice guy, a sensitive thinker, and willing to give a lot of sort of leeway, give and take, not try to attribute motives to the opposition, allow the opposition to fully explain. All of that sensitivity of mind sets him up for an easy defeat against rabid, emotional, moral-based anti-white attacks. There's no way he can contend with that, with this approach. This is your basic conservative leadership, pure and simple. And this guy will have some fabulous, I'm gonna die in like a box, living in a box down by the river. This guy is going to be 23 with a six-figure salary.
Because if that's your position, nothing that your opponent says, no matter how objectively meritorious, will be able to penetrate your mind. And if you think of yourself as someone who values truth and objectivity, you should care whether your own thought patterns could, blindside you to the truth. So these are my 3 tips. I hope you enjoyed the video. I wanted to do some relatively chill topics before I get back into the thick of things, but I also think it's an important, topic. So I also want to thank you for watching till the end. You're a real one.
All right. Good. I caught him with a smile in the final second of the video. I hate catching people where they're looking weird in the middle of a video. But good, we got him. He looks good there. He's handsome. He's got a smile on his face. I thought it was a good video overall. What did y'all think? I'm going to take a look to see if there are any financial gifts, see if there are any tags for me, questions, comments, and then I'm going to get out of here because I got to get back to grinding away at trying to save our people and having enough just to live hand to mouth while we wait for Charlie here to get his six-figure offer from Big Con. All right. Remrep is with us. Thank you so much, Remrep, with a 5 Canadian bacon dollars. Canadian bacon dollars. Thanks, Remrep. And says here, God bless you, Heidi. Yes, we agree 100%. Our kids need to be protected. God bless you, Jason. Thank you for saying that, for the Go Free method of doing so. Well, God, I appreciate it. And God bless you as well, Remrep. This is the hard work. This is the good work that needs to be done, that actually changes and fixes things. I was dumb enough, I guess, short-sighted enough when I thought I just have to help fix the problem, and didn't think, oh no, you're going to live a pretty damn hard life. I mean, I guess I was going to anyhow, being a white male without connections. In the anti-white narrative, every white guy is like, every white person has connections to like the highest echelon of like any one of us can just be called up, like beamed up, and there we are. We're like in the palace. We're like, now you have the privilege and you will work for us. Here is your 6-7-figure salary. No. White guy, no connections in a world that hates white people. How many resumes? How many? Oh God. How many times at work where you see non-white people just flying through the ranks all around you. And then you want to push back against anti-whiteism with something that works, calling it what it is. And the conservative movement is supposed to be all about that pushing back against anti-whiteism. Zilch. Nope. You are not allowed to defend on the basis of which we are attacked. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? The white sympathetic explicits, they're like, no, we're all about just going after and harming. We don't put white people first, a la Warren Baylog. No, we put victimizing jaywalkers first. Oh, well, okay, I guess don't fit in there either. What a world. What a world. Rick Deckard is here over on Entropy 2. $15 financial gift. I deeply appreciate it so much, my dear brother. And he says, for white well-being, Kip. Absolutely, Kip, good sir. Keep it Promethean at all times. Thank you very much for that. Let me look over here on Odyssey. And it looks like Bianca Fights the Zombies is over there and says, aloha, dudes. Well, a big aloha back to you. One of the whole three watching over there. And then we have over on D Live. It doesn't look like there are any financial gifts there as... Oh, there are some lemons, it looks like. Hold on, let me... Tim Hamby over there on D Live. God bless you. Thank you so much. 13 lemons. That's the tokens that they have over there on D Live, the cryptocurrency. Thank you so much for that. 13 lemons. And I don't see anybody tagging me over there. So let me turn around back to here. And I will check everybody in the live chat in just a moment. We're going to get out our 07s, please, please, please. 07s. Raucous emojis. Raucous emojis. For Ace. $25 financial gift. Thank you so much for that. Late here, at least late, I'm noticing it in the gathering today, in the show today, the roll-in. And with those 25 white well-being dollars, says going free is the way to combat anti-whiteism. Thank you very much for that testimonial. It is indeed. And bless you for the testimonial and the $25. Pants is here. Great to see you. Ash is here. Alexander is here. Or is anybody tagging me? White Wolf says, Jason is a real Southern Virginian. I am indeed. I come right from the soil of Virginia. Relatives here way, way back. Fought in the war for Southern independence. Many, many of them. And Virginia used to be thought of, perhaps it still is, but people don't think of it this way anymore, as a very magical place. And back in the day, you look back to some of the earliest writings of America, and you look to Europe, the things that people were saying about Virginia, they thought that is something magical is going on in Virginia. So many great heroes of this country, of the United States, great heroes of the Confederate States, writers, artists, etc. And that is the soil from which I sprang. But as you can see, I don't know so much. Maybe the soil in Southern California is where all of the icons come from now, all of the great heroes, all of the great pedophiles across the land, the anti-white pedophiles across the land. Maybe that's where everybody is happy with what comes out of there. Helios says, with some tutelage from No White Gill, Charlie could be terrific. We may have to use proxies. There are more of them every day. Yeah, 100%. I don't see Charlie ever talking to me. And before he gets the six-figure salary, good folks from this community, in a very friendly way, not totally aggressive, need to get in his comments, need to engage him, and need to use the lexicon that we use here that works, so that, good Lord willing, he will take these things up. He'll see the value, he'll take them up, and then he'll use them on his videos. Because just think of all of the white women and ballless gelded white males out there that are going to fall in love with this guy's face. Look at his handsome face. He's got a little smile on right there. They're going to fall in love with him. They're all going to worship him. They're going to say, I know of this wonderful Asian man that says X, Y, or Z, and so I feel good now. No, maybe they'll build a statue to him. Just think of that. So if he is using the concepts that set us free, then they will get to hear it that way, and they'll think that it's okay to use. Now, once he's hired to Big Con, they will nip that in the bud. So we've got a space of time before he goes to work for Big Con. He'll probably need to learn first that his friends and family that are anti-white are never going to have him back. And that's going to be a hard thing for him to adjust to, probably. Once he learns that and those offers are there, he'll take them. He probably won't take them if he thinks there's still a hope of getting his friends and family back. But because he's probably got an opportunity to make really good money anyhow. So there's a window for us to get to this fellow, and therefore to all those ballless white males out there and all those white women who have no self-value and would run from me, but will love Charlie. Very well said. Persona says, there's a white girl who was bullied for being white, and she took her own life due to the bullying. Yes, that you might be talking about the same story that I saw. Horrible. And I don't know about why she was being bullied. I mean, being bullied in general is wrong, obviously, and especially to the point that the child takes their own life. A horrific thing. If it was that she was being bullied by anti-whites of any race because she's white and wasn't anti-white enough, that is infinitely worse. And if we can ascertain whether or not that's the case, then that would probably be something that I would like to review. Based is here. And we don't, just to mention for those who are maybe new, we are not white negative. And by white negative, we mean that your ostensible advocacy for white people is based in demonizing non-white people. We don't do that. And there are a lot of reasons why you don't do that. It's not moral, for one thing, to condemn people on the basis of their birth. That's what we don't want done to us. So that's just immoral. You also are including innocent people when you condemn an entire group of people on the basis of their birth. And then you engender the stiffest resistance from them. You make them anti-white. Whether they were going to be anti-white or not, you make them participate in anti-whiteism, whether they were going to actually participate or not. And one of the biggest weaknesses that it causes in us is that when you demonize another group of people as your form of advocacy, when you hate another group of people as your form of your love for white people, you are centering that people in your story. This is not just something that's flippant. This is not something that's just superficial. What and who you center in the story of your life determines how you think. It determines what you think is moral. It determines on and on and on. It determines how you respond to all the events that take place inside your life, your world, the countries we live in, the West. So if you are focused on another, like I see these videos, like there's this channel or this account on Twitter that just got started and blew past mine. Like my account was just like spinning circles, and it continues to grow. And all they do there, first of all, they use anti-white the way that self-identified Nazis have used it, because they try to purloin, they try to co-opt, because they think they can take like pieces from what I do and then be successful. You can't be successful that way. You're just LARPing. But they say anti-hyphen capital W white. That's not how it works. The World Jewry finally caught up with me a couple of years ago when they said anti-Semitism is going to get rid of the hyphen, because a concept is far more powerful in the human mind. These are the brightest Jews on planet Earth. Far more powerful in the mind than to say anti and then the item. So you have anti-white, the way we use it, is a concept that is far more powerful than anti capital W white. But this Twitter account, all they do is they share videos and pictures of blacks harming white people. And all of their, like, all they talk about there's this black problem. They're just totally centering the black race. It cripples you in more ways. I mean, we don't have enough time. It's already been going for 2 hours. I could go on for an hour talking about the ways that it cripples you. But here's the only thing you need to know. People have been doing that tons and tons and tons. Your generation, the generation before, 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 the generation before. And how has that done for us? Now, even if you are a midget wit, you should be able to do that math. If it's been failing since long before your great-grandparents were alive, then that should be enough evidence for you to say, aha, this doesn't work. You don't need me to explain all of the different ways that it doesn't work. You just need to look at that. So we're not white negative. When a white person is attacked by anybody, but let's just say, like is happening on that Twitter account, by non-white people, our concern is for the well-being of the white person. Our concern is for the dehumanization that enabled that. Our concern is for the anti-whiteism that causes non-white people to feel like they're justified, to feel like it's retribution, to feel like our concern is for the system that handles with kid gloves those who victimize Western kind. Do you see the big difference? When you go and you talk to your friends, family, and strangers, and you talk about the victimization of our people, the love for our people, and you talk about our victimization and how that upsets you and how you want to put an end to that, how is that received versus when you go to friends, family, or strangers and you start talking about how awful, evil, ugly, repugnant some other race of man is? You know it goes nowhere. And you know when you're with your friends or family that might be of the same mindset, that if you're out in public and you talk like that, you whisper. There's a reason for that. That reason is that you know it's wrong. You know that society frowns down upon it. You know that society thinks it's ugly. You won't gain anything for white people by demonizing another group of people. More importantly, if you affirm the anti-white narrative and you convince people that the only way that white people are going to be safe, have well-being, be secure, be able to celebrate ourselves is to victimize non-white people, we will never get to white well-being, ever. There is no truth to the anti-white claim. I've been arguing it since I was in junior high school. No truth to the anti-white claim that you have to victimize non-white people to get to white well-being. You absolutely do not. In fact, non-white people will benefit immeasurably by putting an end to anti-whiteism. And if you don't take that up, pardon my French, but you are a motherfucker. I mean, that's just the bottom line. If you're going to be telling people that we have to victimize non-white people for us to have well-being, you are preventing me from getting to a world where there is white well-being. And I hate you for that. I want you to know, I was born to this shitty world where everything is set against me because I'm a light-featured white man with no connections. The whole world set against me. And you are part of the problem if you are focusing on negative aspects of other races of people. because my well-being and the well-being of people I love and care for can only be achieved in your mind by victimizing those folks. And therefore, we will never get to that destination. And just get lost if that's your actual opinion. And I'm not saying that's the actual opinion of the person who I started talking to, but this is a serious problem in the minds of a lot of folks who, it's obviously a lot, it's most unfortunate, in the minds of a lot of folks who think that they are actually advocating for some positive in some productive way for white people by doing that. You're not. That needs to die. That needs to die. Stop confirming the anti-white narrative. Jeez. And you know why? You know why the Charlie Cheons out there? You know why the salty crackers? You know why they don't talk to somebody like me? Because of you. Because you're out there all the time condemning these non-white groups, and they think that's what they're going to get from me. Well done. Our message that works, you saw at the beginning of this stream with Heidi and their baby, that child. You saw at the beginning of this stream with iHeartMedia, a method that works for white well-being. How many people can it reach? All right, let's see if there's anybody else. Just looking for tags. Please tag me as No White Guilt, because if you just write Jason or whatever, I'm not going to see it. I mean, the odds are so slim. And I don't know what is the business talking about different groups of Europeans. That's to sectarianize, to cause division. You don't do that. What does dividing do? Makes us weaker. All right. Yep, we did pass 24,000 subs after an ungodly number of videos and time and editing, and yeah, so we're climbing. All right. I don't think I missed anybody. Artificer is here. Great to see you. Let me jump to the bottom. Escape is here. Great to see you. And looks like, yep, we're blank over there. We didn't miss anybody. One more time here. Go ahead and pull that down. And looks like we are blank over here as well. Well, we learned a lot tonight. One of the things we learned is that I'm almost always right. And it's a gift and a curse. What was that TV show? Saw it when I was in the hospital once. Monk. It's a gift and a curse. Franklin's asking about the Chuck Martell garage parties. Were they taken down? They were, for now, taken down. But I plan on posting them again. There was a concern over potential claims that artists could make that are no longer happy with me because I put the well-being of white people ahead of their objective, which is to victimize Jewish people, innocent Jewish people. But I plan to put them back up. Thank you for that. A lot of great talent in the community. I'd like to see more of it come around to a white positive position. But they have their lives to live. They're adults. They have agency. And they can... Princess says, did you see the poll Mark Dice put up? It was asking how to spell anti-whiteism. Yes. And I actually shared it because I wanted people to jump on there and choose the spelling of their like. I conducted research about the spelling for anti-whiteism. I was using anti-whiteism when I started using anti-whiteism, 94. I spelled it with the E at the end of white. And that was to make it easy for people to be able to look at the word and know what it was. I didn't, and when saying it, I didn't like conduct any experiment. Because I could just say anti-whiteism, and at my different jobs, blue collar, white collar jobs, people were always like, anti-whiteism. And then they knew that it meant anti-white, that it was the concept, this ideology. And then that gave me the opportunity to explain what it was. Or if I was explaining it, and then I would say anti-whiteism, their eyes would they were like, oh my God, there's a name for it? Yes, in fact, here it is. And it wasn't in my dictionary. I still have that dictionary, and I shared that dictionary. It wasn't in the dictionary at the city library. And when I tried to, the dictionaries, when I tried to force, compel, argue for, persuade those in the white sympathetic sphere to use anti-white and anti-whiteism, they pushed back against me. They said things like, well, it's not legitimate because the professors aren't using it. And so the public won't think it's legitimate. And that would be like the more educated in the white sympathetic sphere. And then there were the really low lifes who would just ridicule and make fun of me for using it. And because they wanted to use the variety of terms and names that are out there today. And I argued for why that was so detrimental. And it's detrimental for numerous ways. And so then it was maybe 2009 that Whitaker used anti-white at the end of this long screed that he made about this whole thing, like immigration to white countries and only white countries. It's this long thing. I think they called it the mantra. But I was very much in support of the use of anti-white. So I argued in favor of them. For the same people who argued against me argued against them. And they called them clowns, and they said they were a joke. And I pushed back against all of that. In fact, I kept one person. This is kind of a story. I kept one powerful person from targeting that whole community by arguing with him about it all one evening. And we went back and forth. And he finally just dropped it and decided not to target them. So, but then they kind of disappeared, more or less. They had like their splash. They made this great video. Of course, Murdoch made some great cartoons. And I don't know if was anti-white used in the cartoons? But they made these great videos with a couple of women. And I loved that. I was like, please, more of that. But it went away. And I guess it ran out of steam, or probably the pressure, the same pressure that I was feeling over the years, except I wouldn't give it up because I saw how it worked, and I saw how the alternative does not work. Then, years later, I ran some experiments on the spelling. And I had a piece of paper with it spelled with the E and without the E. And this was after we discovered that anti-whiteism, anti-white and anti-whiteism, and this is Final Blossom founded in a 50-year-old dictionary. And they had taken it out of dictionaries so we wouldn't have that tool to use, because there's no reason to take that out of the dictionary otherwise. So I ran some experiments on the spelling, and it had varied results. In the dictionary, it didn't have the E on the end of white. So some people read it properly. Some people didn't. I would show them, I would say, what is this word? And they would say how they thought it was pronounced. And most of them got it right, both of them right. And then I would ask them what it meant as well. So in Go Free, I say you can use either spelling. And then when Mark Dice, who created the word anti-whiteism on his own, used one of our websites and the spelling with the letter E, and used my definition that he would show everybody on his stream after he first created it. And now I guess it's that, we use anti-whiteism with both the E and without it at the end of white. And I guess he wanted to find out, okay, well, then what should I go with as Mark Dice? So I ran that poll. And I don't know what came. I think with the E ended up being the one that most people liked, even though that's not the way it is spelled in the dictionary. So yeah, I supported that. And I think Mark Dice is a God king, and all should worship him. All should give him a pat on the back. All should make other suggestions. Western kind, anti-white narrative to this hero, because he is this great personality. He reaches a lot of people. He's a really smart guy. He's got a great look. He's got many years ahead of him to make great content. I understand that there were some in his past, some of this, some of that, or whatever, but he understands the entertainment industry. He has had some contacts with the entertainment industry. He knows how that works. And he is combating anti-whiteism, because all good people are and should be combating anti-whiteism today. It is the thing that is destroying the West. So good people of all immutable character, he doesn't have to care about white people at all to combat anti-whiteism. And in my book, he is a huge champion. And it's so awesome that guy is doing what he's doing. Victorian Time Traveler, if somebody wants to argue with us about the spelling of anti-whiteism, they are legitimizing the concept. Yeah. Let's have it out I really don't mind. Great stream tonight. Love it when you get heated. You speak the truth. Not everyone is ready for it, but you are there, says Heidi. God bless you, sister. I really appreciate that. Pearl Lady, white is trending on Twitter again. Well, that's cool. You know what? We should get anti-whiteism, anti-white. We've had both of those trending. We should get Western kind trending. Morb says, hail. A big Promethean hails to you too, my friend. All right, I guess that's about it. Let me just check over here one more time. I'm going to get back to work. I am working on the audiobook of Go Free Second Edition Iteration 2, and very nearly done with it. Now, it excludes the appendices, because that would be really just tough to read through one after the other. It's like disjointed lines that don't connect. I'd probably go insane, or even more so than I am, I guess. So the folks will have to get the digital version or print version if they want to dig into that. It's very powerful, the appendices, actually. You don't want to miss that. But the audiobook will make it far more accessible to more people. Believe it or not, a lot of people don't read. A lot of people can't read. I was looking at some stats. When was it? A couple of weeks ago, and it said something crazy, like a third of Americans can't read. And I don't know exactly how they define, like what they define can't read. Is that 8th grade and down, or 6th grade and down, or like, can they read as good as a 6th grader? I don't know. So I really don't know what was being said. You'll have to go look at those stats yourself. I didn't dig into it, so I don't know if I'm accurately stating, but it's suffice it to say that a lot of people have trouble reading, whether they know the words to read them, as in they're literate or illiterate, or they just don't have the stamina to read. They don't have the time to read. They don't want to read. People will be able to pick up this audiobook, listen to it while they work, listen to it while they drive, listen to it while they relax, and then potentially get them interested in the 3rd edition, which is what I'm going to begin producing straight away as soon as I'm done. And this 3rd edition really takes the practice to the next level. It really does, because it takes what has transpired even since, somewhat before the 2nd edition iteration 2, all of these concepts that were not yet scientifically proven are now going to be included in edition 3, and it makes some slight changes, some polishing to take what is in 2nd edition iteration 2 to make it stronger, to make it purer, to make it better, to distill the power of the Go Free method. I think 3rd edition is really going to be remarkable, and I'll be very excited to get that out. And then at some point in the future, do an audiobook for that as well, probably from my box down by the river. Traveler says they replace phonetic reading with the look-see method, which teaches you to read a little bit. Well, that sounds great. That sounds like that has probably worked for a lot of people really well. Hey, the great Elaine Sabatino just joined us. She just woke up. Well, Promethean hails to you. You'll be able to go back and listen to the rest of this roll-in. I hope you will enjoy it. And we haven't missed anybody. So, well, folks, it's been great. I'm going to go get to that work, and I will see you all on Sunday, of course. And let me find some nice little video for y'all to watch, and something calm to watch as we roll out. And we will do that right now. Roll out.
Exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.